Edmonton. 5-year-old Lena Pederson sat on the leather couches in the kids section of Happy Harbor Comics on Wednesday, a comic book store across from MacEwan University on 104 Avenue, while her mother paid for their purchases. Lena and her mother Brittney Pederson have been coming to the store together for the past 2 years. Happy Harbor Comics co-owner Jay Bardyla is photographed in the store on Wednesday. The popular Edmonton comic book shop is closing its doors at the end of January. Codi for Star Metro Edmonton. Mom and I get to read here, and I look at pages a lot, Lena said, her eyes fixated on the Spider-Man chess figurine she hopped across the board on the table in front of her. Pederson started bringing her daughter to the store to get her more interested in reading, especially different kinds of literature. She was heartbroken to find out on Tuesday night that after operating for 20 years, Happy Harbor will close its doors Jan. 31. I saw the post on Facebook and I cried, and I'm not a crier, so that was bizarre, she said. The announcement was made on the Happy Harbor Comics Facebook page to the shock and dismay of its fans, who expressed their sadness in the comments section and in person, much to the surprise of store co-owner Jay Bardyla. With the outpouring that we have received, we realize that this business means a lot more to people than I kind of anticipated, he said. Everyone has been telling me I was being very naive and unaware. Bardyla says they decided to close the store while they are still in a comfortable financial position, and that there are other creative things he has wanted to do that have been put on the back burner. We want to close now because we can. It allows us to move on, better have some money while we do, he said. This is a good time. However, Bardyla confessed he did not expect this kind of reaction from customers. After an influx of messages, emails and phone calls, Bardyla says he now feels crappy about closing. I feel selfish and I feel guilty, and the more that these comments come out, the more I realize how clueless I was to how much this story meant to people other than myself, he said. I really had no idea things were at that level. But you got to do what you got to do. Happy Harbor Comics is home not only to a huge collection of comic books ranging from new issues to comics from the 1930s, it boasts an expansive collection of figurines that line the orange walls of the store, some of them from Bardyla's personal collection. However, the comic book store built a community around its award-winning collection of children's comics, production of school comic book programs, and its hosting of comic book artists. The store won the Diamond Retail Best Practice Award for Best Kids section. It has also won multiple awards for its school program where they encourage kids to read comic books and teach them how to draw. Bardyla says they tried to focus a lot of attention on underrepresented areas of the comic book industry, whether it was children or the LGBTQ community. We really try to create spots for people who are looking for those particular places to go and feel comfortable shopping, he said. He added that even in the children's section there is a lot of crossover, so parents like Pederson who want their kids to read LGBTQ comics early on could find those books there. That is one of the reasons why Pederson and her daughter chose this place. They have really good, really diverse recommendations, so making sure she is reading queer literature and seeing all the different ways that she can be a human and just not always the same kind of "you are little girl, and this is what little girls do," she said. Although for many customers, the store was the go-to place for comics, for Sean Molson, a student at the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, it was the place he reconnected with Dungeons & Dragons. After finding out it's closing, Molson said he decided to come over right away to not only pick up his Dungeon Master's Guide for Wizards of the Coast, but also have the owners and employees sign it. Truth be told, my memory isn't so good. When I don't remember anymore, this book can remember for me, he said for Daniel J. Schneider, a local comic book artist and volunteer at Happy Harbor. The store had become part of his identity. I feel like I'm going to have to rediscover a lot of myself, he said. Schneider grew up outside of Edmonton around friends who weren't as interested in comic books as he was. He was one of the first few people Bardyla introduced at Comic Jam, where local comic book artists would get together to draw and share ideas. He said being a comic book artist is often a lonely hobby, but at Happy Harbor, they formed a community. I do weekly meetups here, every Wednesday. This is where most of my friends in the city came from. This was our harbor, he said. Though the physical embodiment of the store might be gone, the Happy Harbor community won't be. Happy Harbor is more than a place to buy comics. It was a community, it was a group of friends, it was a group people lifting each other up and doing better in the industry, Schneider said. Cash Malafita is an Edmonton-based reporter covering City Hall and diversity. Follow her on Twitter, @CashFedereport, and air journalistic standards about the star top stories, delivered to your inbox. NEWSLETTERAGADLINESSIGN up.